All right. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Brenda. I'm from Portland, Oregon.
If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to do everything you can to know yourself well, to know what your needs are, what your goals are, what you want in a mate, what you would like for your future.
How do you do that?
Probably by talking to people when you're younger, having some experience, maybe reading.
Do you feel like you didn't do that when you were younger?
Oh, definitely not.
Or didn't do that enough?
Definitely not.
Tell me about what the most important thing for people to understand is.
Most important thing to understand. Any particular category?
Anything.
Anything.
What you think is the most important thing for someone to understand in life.
Well, I guess it's kind of two things, but they're wrapped up into one. That one's words and actions are permanent. You can't take them back. You can't undo their effect. And so you need to choose both of them carefully.
What taught you that?
Experience.
What advice do you have for people trying to find their path in life?
Oh boy. Their path as far as a career, a job.
Their purpose, their direction, what they're supposed to do, what makes them happy or fulfilled. What advice do you have for someone trying to find that?
Maybe to figure out what one is good at, where their skills are, what brings them happiness. Get feedback from people who know you well, people who care about you, and do a lot of exploration, learn about different avenues or different careers, and expose yourself to a lot of different things.
How should someone go about that? How do you go about exposing yourself to these different things? Like just trying anything and everything, saying yes to everything?
Well, I think it can start in high school where one says, okay, I really like writing, so maybe I'll take a such and such class. I really like soccer, so I'll get involved in soccer. Or I really like drama and languages. And so you start involving yourself in those things and then maybe build on that. And I think eventually some answers come.
Do you think that's how people kind of get stuck in a rut in life, is they haven't, maybe not a rut, but not a fulfilled life, is they haven't tried enough things? They've exposed themselves to enough experiences? Or are there other reasons why someone might?
I think that's one reason. Another reason is maybe a lack of self-confidence and self-esteem that prevents them from exploring or trying other things.
How do they gain that confidence to try those things and get out
Oh,
there?
that's a deep subject because that, that's not something one can acquire late in life. I think it comes from trying things and having successes, but it's a catch-22 if you don't have confidence to try, or if you don't have confidence to what do I want to say? Achieve higher ranks in your job, or try out for that club in high school or whatever, then it's hard to also achieve successes.
What advice would you have for someone who's younger? Because you mentioned, it's harder to do when you're older, but for someone who's younger, to gain that confidence, to try the new things, someone who's in high school or maybe college age, in their 20s or something.
Well, I think if there's a fear about trying something that holds an interest, then maybe trying to do it with a friend. Or trying to set a goal for yourself. Okay, I'm going to try this for X amount of time. And if I don't like it, or just doesn't feel comfortable, or it feels too scary, then at least I've tried.
What's the story about the hardest lesson you've ever had to learn?
Hardest lesson.
Story about the hardest lesson you've ever had to learn.
I have to think for a minute about what that would be.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the hardest lesson that I've ever had to learn, but one of them was that my mother had given me some earrings that had been special to her. Had a story behind them, and they were old, and she trusted me. And I was in high school, and I took 2 pairs along with me to school, put them in my wallet because I was going to go into the restroom when I got to school and put them on. Our school was large. I knew a lot of people. I was very trusting. Put my purse on the sink, turned my back, went to look in the mirror, came back to my purse, and my wallet was empty.
Oh, someone stole it?
Stole those 2 pairs of earrings. I can't remember if they also stole money. I was heartbroken. So I guess the lesson there is not to be too trusting.
Okay. How would you advise someone to be happy in life?
That's a tough one too.
You're going to find none of these questions are easy.
I think being happy is easier for some people than others. A lot of times life circumstance comes into play. I think it's a matter of examining what brings a person joy, or what brings them satisfaction, or contentment, or a feeling of accomplishment, and then pursuing those things, maybe not all, maybe just one. I think it's about relationships, having the best quality relationships that one can, and putting the energy into making them good, keeping them solid, being the best friend that you can, or the best son or daughter or spouse. That's a simple answer.
Tell me about the biggest risk you've ever taken in life.
I was working for a gentleman, and I was doing everything for him: inside sales, a little bit of outside sales, bookkeeping, managing the office, managing the phones, troubleshooting. And I was approached about doing the same thing that he was doing. He was a sales rep, and trying not to make the story real long.
Make it as long as you need.
Okay. I was in Portland. The companies that he worked for were in New York, so it was a lot of, and back east, other areas. And so I was involved in a lot of phone work. And one day I needed to do some troubleshooting, and it just so happened that the person I was speaking with was one of the executives of one of the companies. And he asked me if I had ever considered repping on my own. And I said, no, not really, because I had just been working for this gentleman for about a year, and I didn't have the self-confidence. And he said, well, you should. And I said, really? I got off the phone, and it planted the seed. One of the people that I worked with a lot on Bob's behalf was a sales manager in New York for one of the lines that Bob represented. And I told this sales manager about this phone conversation. This particular sales manager and I had developed a friendship across the miles. I was telling him about my family when we weren't real busy and gotten the business talk taken care of. And he told me about his family. And I told him about this phone call, and he said, well, I didn't want to say anything earlier, but I'm not really happy with the company that I'm at. And I wonder if maybe I should find a company that we could both locate with. I would be your sales manager. You would be the rep on the West Coast for a different company. And I said, whoa, wouldn't that be wild? He got busy. He made inquiries. He found a company that was interested in hiring us. I flew to New York. We met with this other company, and we basically made it happen. The risk part comes in that I was newly pregnant with my daughter at the time. And I had loving friends and family say, are you crazy? How are you going to schlep cases being pregnant? How are you going to do that? How are you going to work? How? And I said, I don't know, but where there's a will, there's a way. And I made it work.
It's a big risk. What are the lessons that everyone should learn?
Lessons. The golden rule, to always be kind, which doesn't mean that you can't sometimes bite back if you need to, but never with intent to hurt. To be authentic, to give 100% to whatever you're doing. I've always believed if it's worth doing right. So I believe whether it's cleaning the house, or whether it's your job, or whether it is a volunteer experience, give it the best that you've got. That's what comes to mind right now.
What have you learned in life that's surprising?
That you can't expect people to change drastically from what they are when they're young adults. Yeah. That what you see is pretty much what you get. Habits can change, but the core doesn't change.
What do you stand for?
Treat others as you would like to be treated.
And last one, what's your message to the world?